So how is the village?
Well, those people needed fucking vaccinations. I tell you what, that would have done them some good. So I beat Village over the weekend. That is Resident Evil Village.
You know, it's come to my
Or
attention when you say that this is the first time a Resident Evil thing has like popped up, and like just from the promotional material and media, like I don't know what the common regular threat is.
it's Werewolf Man's.
Okay. Okay. So
So
that
that
lichen
was
talk was
shown,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like they spent just as much of the show off trailer stuff on Lady D and the daughters as they did like any enemy type, right? Because yeah, you're completely right. Like usually a Resident Evil game is defined in its marketing and its lead up as it's zombies. No, wait, this time it's not zombies. It's mold people. No, wait, it's zombies. You know, what have you. In this, your generalized monster type is twofold. You have lichens, which are werewolf mans,
Mhm.
and you have I'm gonna call them ghouls. They're gaunt looking, swinging an axe at you, but very slow dudes that or like a thrall, you know, like
And
a
this is the
vampiric
same
thrall.
world that has gotten through all the previous Resident Evil
Yeah.
crises, correct?
So yeah, that
Okay.
yeah. So Resident Evil Village is really good. I want to get that out of the way. It's visually gorgeous. It's a lot more inventive than Resident Evil 7 was, but it's very much in that same like first-person kind of thing. The enemy variety is great. The boss fights are fantastic. The pacing's really good. It's got a lot of good replay value with the extra modes and collectibles and earning bonus weapons for New Game Plus, that kind of thing. Mercenaries is in it. But what's way more interesting than, you know, hey, it's a good video game, is like its presentation and its story and its setting. It feels like. So did you play RE7, Wooly?
Just the demo.
Okay, but the demo featured what people are jokingly calling bio ghosts, right? Like, it's a ghost, but it's like, but isn't this a series about viruses and
Lab monsters.
labs and monsters
Mhm.
and whatnot?
Mhm.
And then in RE7, it turns out that the hallucinations are caused by mold people. The spores get in your head and they make you hallucinate through mold telepathy, right?
Sure.
And it was like right on the edge of like not quite magic, but I guess I'll still believe this is like, you know, a biohazard instead of a magic, instead of just a straight up curse.
There's always a lab behind the curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um Village is a really core like departure. Someone somewhere said, fuck it. We're just gonna have like the cast of the X-Men as antagonists here. What's this guy's bio power? He's Magneto. He's just literally Magneto. He walks around with pieces of metal and he's stepping up and down shit like a metal staircase of gears and shit like that.
So we're going Kojima with it then.
It's shit like they later on they'll tell you, oh, it was really a bio thing. Shut up.
Okay.
It's just magic now. And that's fine. But as a result, how do I put this? You know how like some Resident Evil games try and stay kind of grounded, like the originals or like even remake, right? It's like this is a weapon some guy made in a lab, and then there are others like RE4, which are like screw it, it's an action nonsense like
Mm-hmm.
zany adventure. This this one jumps past all of the others to like go and live with like Devil May Cry. Like the
Okay.
clown shoes are on and the makeup is on and it's time to fucking do a kid's birthday party because it is zany as shit.
And 7 did not do that then.
7 was like hyper grounded.
Okay.
7 tried its best to be very serious and like return to horror. And then they had a DLC where the kid's uncle just shows up and he's old and he's just punching all the monsters because he's old.
Mm-hmm.
It's way out there. There are elements of the game that are so way out there that if I showed them to you, you would not correctly interpret it as being part of the Resident Evil series.
Does it work?
Yes, it totally does. It absolutely, completely works. And it makes me like, and they hint that it will continue to go in this zany ass direction in the future, which makes me excited. But it is like, it's the first of like the direct sequels because it's about Ethan again, right? And it's about Mia again, right? It's like
People seem to hate seeing a lot of Ethan flack.
Ethan rules. Ethan absolutely fucking rules. And some of the Ethan flack that you're seeing is that he sucks. Right? We've had decades of hyper competent, attractive characters with faces that effortlessly go through their survival horror situation, it possibly in some kind of military outfit with a hat or whatever. Ethan is a faceless goober that they desperately avoid showing his face. It's super weird. And is like an idiot. He's like a dumb person.
Okay.
And he is simultaneously like has the best and the worst comebacks I've ever seen in anything. Where, you know, the boss will yell out their final death cry of like, "Ah, damn you, I hope whatever." And then the boss crumbles, and then Ethan says his little one-liner. They are embarrassingly bad.
Okay.
They are astonishingly terrible. He kills a bug lady only to flatly say, "Yeah, I hate bugs."
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's like if every line from Leon and RE4 just completely missed the mark. Just 100% fucking completely fell flat.
And also, he's not a tactical genius super protagonist.
No, instead we get to enjoy what is apparently the Resident Evil team's love of beating up their main character, because Ethan takes like astonishing amounts of horrible, painful damage throughout the game. Like it's as close to Dante as they could get within the setting.
So Dante never agonizes though, like
right.
Excuse me. Tomb Raider, perhaps. Modern Tomb Raider.
Well, so, like, within half an hour of starting the game, the man gets like his ring and his pinky finger and part of his left hand just chewed right off. And then he bandages it up, and you play the whole game with 8 fingers. But like 10 minutes after that, he gets angry at the monsters and just slams his horribly mutilated hand into like a windowsill and goes like, damn it, and like reacts nothing at all to the fact that he's pounding like an open stump into a windowsill.
Oh my god, 8 fingers specifically.
Yeah, of course.
Uh-huh.
Did you get it?
Uh-huh.
Did you get it?
Okay.
Ethan rules. Ethan totally rules in his fucking aggressive lameness.
Okay.
As for the game's like overall structure, it's super weird because its structure is that of Dark Souls 1.
What does that mean?
The opening cutscene is a fairy tale rendition of the magical history of the 4 lords that Ethan has to go destroy in order to unlock the Lord Vessel. It's literally a big chalice.
Okay. As briefed to him by someone on a computer?
No, his wife is reading a storybook to the kid, you see.
What a weird swerve.
Dude, like, I'll go grab a screenshot of what it looks like. It straight up looks like a fairy tale version of, like, the Dark Souls 1 intro. It's absolutely fucking... Like, I started it up and, like, just burst out, like, what? Like, we're doing this?
Because the energy I got from that demo, and what, you know, the implications were in 7 was like totally separate, grounded, realistic horror story with kind of like poltergeists and spoops.
Yeah.
But then every once in a while, you might catch an Umbrella logo, and it'd be like, oh shit, what's the connections, you know, and so on. So,
yeah, so I sent you 2 screenshots there to summarize what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay. No, that's...
Right?
Yeah, that's a go defeat the evils. There's a literal twisted castle in the background of one of those storybook screenshots. Okay.
Right, it's super weird. It's super fucking weird. It's awesome that it's so weird. And the game is straight up just divided into 4 pieces, and go get this boss. Go get this boss. Go get this boss. Go get this boss. And go through their themed area, all of which have a different style. And
go get this boss doesn't sound like survival horror.
It doesn't. I don't know what to call this game. Like like I shot a lot of dudes. This is bordering on action horror, I would say. That being said, like it's going for, like, from tone, it's going for gothic horror, and each boss represents a different type of gothic horror. So Alcina represents like vampire gothic horror, right? Lady D, right? You know who Lady D is?
No, I know. I mean the other names you're throwing out or throughout. Sure.
Oh, I didn't. Alcina is her first name.
Okay.
Then you've got Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Evil
Oh,
Puppets.
wow. Okay, right down the list.
Yeah.
Lichens and werewolf. Yeah, okay.
Like
cool.
a whole batch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they each get their own different area, and 2 of them have areas that are way shorter because they have gimmicks that would have worn out their welcome. Like, one boss area is a straight up escape room. And the escape room takes about, I don't know, an hour to do. And I replayed it yesterday. And when you know everything, it takes 15 minutes. because you know the codes to doors and you just run right through it, and so it's actually great on replay. Game's great.
Does it moment to moment though? Like, are you playing RE7 too?
Yeah, mixed with RE4. In fact, one of the most interesting things about it is I was playing it and I kept thinking and talking about, so everybody knows that they're making a Resident Evil 4 remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
This game is so close to RE4 in so many ways that I'm like, I feel bad for the people who are going to be making the Resident Evil 4 remake, because it will feel like a ripoff of a game they already made. Because it's just like exploring the village and the merchant, which is a big fat guy called the Duke, and just the general like feeling and the locations, and it's like there's a lake boss that you fight.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a Mr. Feels tweet about how similar 4 is as well, and how the assets in this could just be used in that or something along those lines.
Oh, yeah. So I was overwhelmed by how similar it was and felt. And I decided to go back into my brain space and start digging through 20-year-old Resident Evil videos. Because there was something that that really stood out to me. Everybody knows that Resident Evil 4 got fucked up like 3 or 4 times, right? There was a version of the game that became Devil May Cry. There was a version of the game that was similar to the one we got, but it had zombies instead and it didn't really work. And then there was the game associated with what people call the Hookman demo. And the Hookman demo had super fancy graphics and had like a behind-the-back shoulder for Leon, but it would go like pre-rendered, like old-style camera angle sometimes. But what was more interesting to me is that there are 2 enemies that Leon fights in the old Hookman demo that came out in 2003, which is the year I graduated from high school. So this is ancient, right? And one of which is Leon walks into a room and a weird blue tint comes on the screen and a bunch of crazy dolls attack him. And that's what happens in one of the boss fights, down to the blue tint and the sound effects on the dolls.
Wow.
And then he continues to wander throughout the castle, and the Hookman comes out of a painting and can't be hit by normal gunfire until you run in front of a window and lightning strikes, and the blue flash of the lightning makes the Hookman targetable, which is a dead-on exact mechanic, except with cold instead of lightning, for the bug girls, like the goth girls that you fight in the castle, where you have to shoot out windows to make them cold. And then they attack you with sickles instead of hooks.
Wait, you defeat the girls by making them cold?
That's right. And then I went through.
Well, that doesn't sound too hard.
I went through the trailers, and like, man, that Hookman castle and Lady D's castle look just like the castle from Malay Island in Devil May Cry 1.
Okay.
And RE4 and Haunting Ground, which are all like.
So they just went back and grabbed
I think they
a bunch of
went
shit
back and decided to just make the RE4 that we never got, which makes it like there's also like you straight up fight. There's a whole sequence of the game where you just fight a lake boss.
Okay.
Right.
Which,
there's a sequence.
I mean,
of the game. Like it's crazy. Like it really feels like it's RE 3.5 brought back to life.
That makes sense, considering that the franchise is in a place where it had to doing a whole new thing now, and it can do whatever it wants. So, like, going back to unused ideas from those eras would probably do really well for making it feel like it's still part of this thing, you know?
Yeah. Which is weird because as a result, Resident Evil 8 or RE Village feels like light years outside the realm of Resident Evil. Like it basically establishes that Resident Evil has just straight up magic. Biomagic, whatever you want to call it. Mind control, fucking magnetism, fucking like vampirism, the werewolves, like
but you're saying still that at the top layer there is still a lab coat somewhere studying whatever this is and writing about it. There is still even the slightest hint of a test tube.
There is literally one room in the game where there's like 3 files, and the files are like, so we used the bio
Good enough.
thing to
Good enough.
And it's like,
that's science.
Come on.
It's all science.
Come on.
Good enough.
So
that's fine.
Yeah, this series can now go anywhere and do anything. We can have like a fucking we can have ghost hunters. Fuck it. It can be done.
I'm curious to see how one makes a science demon.
Yeah, also the game sets itself up as the middle of a trilogy, which I was not expecting.
Does he regain another finger for the next?
Maybe he does.
Maybe
he'll grow back
a little
a ninth finger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he does.
For the next game, which we've already called Resident Evil 6.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of it. Mm-hmm. For maximum confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, game's great. I absolutely think it's fantastic. I played it on the PS5, and I'm mostly done through it on the PC. PS5 version seems like it got a little more extra attention. It seems more consistent in its like performance. But apparently all versions of the game, I've not seen anyone complain about like one version of the game being like, oh no, this version is bad. They all seem solid. It's kind of weird because this isn't very common for Resident Evil games. I super just want to talk about the story, but I won't because it has the zaniest shit ever in a Resident Evil game.
Were you satisfied with your... Did you get enough Lady D in your coffee?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I really liked the other sequences. The game is basically split into 5 parts, which is each of the 4 boss sections, and then you go back to the village for like an interim kind of hub thing in between. Lady D is up first, and her sequence is the longest in the game. And then you zip through 2 others that have boss gimmick areas, and then you go to the last one, which is the second longest area in the game.
Because I could see a situation where she's part of this story and she fulfills that role, but the popularity leads to like there being a demand for more and more and more of her to be like, you know, more than she was actually designed to be, because like it kind of was in the works already when she was discovered and released.
Yeah, they definitely didn't do that. And
go back and add more.
Yeah, she's there for the section that she's in, and she has the scenes that she has, and that is it. Okay. The end result of it, even if you're somebody who followed the game like pretty religiously, like I did, as long as you didn't watch the launch day trailer, which was apparently just showed everything in the whole game, that they showed almost nothing of that game. Like the Lady D stuff is like the first 30% of the game, and then you move on to the rest of the bio mutants. and whatnot. Uncharacteristically for a Resident Evil game, all the boss fights are really good.
Hmm.
I would say that there is not a single bad boss fight of the entire pack. Usually there's one that's like awful.
Okay. Uh, and would you say that, like, now that you're 2 games into this trilogy, I suppose, of new things, like, is there a new cast of characters that, you know, like, kind of, I guess, replace the old guard?
No. No.
No. Okay.
Chris is there.
That he
Like,
was in the
Chris is a
trailer.
big
That's
part
true.
of the story.
That's true. Yeah. All right.
And he's around doing his Chris stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan just happened. Ethan feels like he's not even the main character of his own story. If that makes any sense. Like, he feels like he just, like, fell backwards into the story that, like, Chris is having.
Sure. Yeah. New protagonist in an established world. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's that's always. There's always a place for that energy, and like it can go a couple different ways. I mean, Raiden is one of the routes you can go with that.
Just saw it in the chat. Perfectly nailed it. Ethan is Josuke in part 4.
Sure. There's that. I was gonna say Danganronpa 2 as well has a like new protagonist step in and kind of fills a certain role as being like similar to, but then different in ways, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then they go a place with it where you're like, yeah, sure, you've gotta be your own thing, while continuing to make the series recognizable.
The only downside I would say about the game in general is a downside that is literally the same in every Resident Evil game to ever come out, which is the first area and parts of the second area have you sneaking around and scrounging for ammunition and exploring this big labyrinthine area with all these different paths and rooms, and every area after it becomes slightly more linear and slightly more action focused until the last 10% of the game is a fucking shooting gallery, which has been the case since the first game back in 96.
Okay.
But I will say that this one has the best shooting gallery at the end of all of them.
Wow. Okay.
Like, easy.
How long was it by comparison?
It has 2 lengths. And I understand why the reviews were very confused, because reviews put it at 11 hours and people went, that's pretty short. And that's because that's the in-game timer that they give you at the very end of the game that does not count cutscenes or restarts. So it actually took me 15 and a half hours, but the in-game timer said 10 and a half.
Okay. Your speed run clock.
Yeah, and then on replay, I think I'm getting it down on my replay down to like 7, and there's an achievement, of course, for getting it under 3, because it's a Resident Evil game. You have to be able to beat them in a single sitting afternoon.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's great. And more importantly than it's good is that all Resident Evil games follow the formula I just described, and like we joked about how it goes village, castle, sewer, lab, or island, right? In RE7, the middle section, which is a boat, like you get about 60% through RE7, and the game just becomes bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like the Baker Estate in 7 is fantastic, and then you get to a boat and the game just like
Location
fucking crashes.
switch. Yikes. Okay.
It's this really weird thing also that like Resident Evil games on boats are bad. Boat sections of Resident Evil games are not good. Resident Evil Gaiden takes place on a cruise ship, and it's terrible. Resident Evil Gun Survivor 3 takes place on a boat. It's terrible. Resident Evil Revelations takes place inside a boat. It's mediocre. Resident Evil 5's boat sequence sucks.
I only, of course, have limited experience here, but I can say that with, like, in 2, the police station was the coolest area that I saw.
Yep.
In 4, the initial village was the coolest area. And in 5, the initial village was the coolest
Every
area.
time. The first area is always the best one.
Yeah, easily.
And in Village, it's the castle.
Okay.
Like, they always put their best foot forward. And it's like, kind of like,
It's like it's
That
the
being
setting
said-
that you're advertising, practically, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
That being said, I think that Village probably has the least drop in quality from the first area to the last of all of them.
Okay. Cool.
Like
That's
some games that you're like, I'm just gonna stop playing once you get to the final level if you're on a replay, because you're like, I don't care anymore. This one, no, the final big zone is pretty good. I liked it a lot.
And the path forward for the franchise is clear.
No, it's actually super unclear.
Okay, all right.
It's super unclear. I have no idea what they're doing.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I played this week. Also, hey, I have a piece of advice for anyone going to play Resident Evil Village. There is a post-credit scene, so don't skip the credits. And also, this is the only game I have ever seen in my life to do this. But my advice is to not read the credits.
What?
Because the post-credit scene is spoiled by the voice acting list on the side of the screen.
Oh, they tell
And
you.
I originally didn't notice,
okay.
but they do the thing where they show the voice acting credits for English, French, Spanish, Russian, Polish, and you see and like, wait, who is that? Like over and over and over and over and over, and it totally spoils the big
stinger
thing. I'm like, come on. Yes, don't look at the screen. Don't look at it.
No, you got to do that thing where you have a second. You have an end to the stinger that's crediting whoever that was for whatever thing, where you don't let that happen. That's a mistake.